I am Vinnie Tortorich. Folks, your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed. Yeah, Top Gun. Great movie. Great song. And today we're going to do a little riding, and we might end up in a danger zone. You never know. Because we're going to be talking a lot about motivation today with our guest. He's got a little podcast called The Self-Leadership Lab. He also has a book out there. That's how you know someone is legit. They got a book. And I'm saying that in jest because people could go get anything printed right now. And, oh, yeah, I got a book. It's like, what, AI wrote it? Matter of fact, I heard one of the fitness experts that's he was actually on this show. Someone goes, yeah, he's got a new book out. I went, when did he write that? He literally admitted to someone. I'm not going to tell you guys who that person is, but he's a friend of the show. He just went out and got AI to write him a book, and now he could call himself a book author. This guy did not do that. This guy took the long way around. He wrote a book called Easy Hard versus Hard Hard. Back in my day, we used to call it Piss Hard. Versus, well, never mind. We'll get into that with him, folks. I'm talking about none other than Bobby Shelton. Yeah. Oh, Bobby, they love you, man. Listen to that crowd. Jesus Christ. Oh, listen, they're still going. They can't stop. How you doing, Bobby?
I'm doing well. I hope you are as well.
I can't complain. I want to start with, by the way, full disclosure, I usually read a book before the guest comes on. And once I do read the book, it'll be in the Vinnie Book Club, but I have to read it first. And folks, you guys can go to Amazon. I'm an influencer on Amazon. You can go there, and I put things in the Vinnie Book Club once I vet the book. So I'm going to get there. Sorry, I got a lot going on. Bobby, what does that title mean? Easy hard versus hard hard.
So easy hard versus hard hard was a concept that I created for myself. I went on a personal mission of self-discovery, weight loss, just to become a better person. And what it turned out for me was I realized I was focusing on what I now call easy hard. These are things that others want from you, or you think others want from you, the approval of others, chasing your ideals. So at the end of the day, you end up feeling empty. And no matter how hard you work, you're still not reaching your objectives and what you want out of life. Whereas hard are the things that really matter to you. It's work, it can be fitness, it's the why. A lot of coaches, a lot of leadership experts talk about the why. So your hard is your why. And once you find that, the work becomes joy. You can start enjoy the process. All the things that people talk about that you may not know if you're struggling with either the wrong reason or the wrong pursuit at this time. So that's why I wrote that book, and probably wasn't the best title because it got me banned from some social medias and everything like that. But that's how I see the world. I see as everything like, you say soft and succulent, right? It's hard. Be hard. You make yourself a hard person physically, mentally, spiritually, and life will open itself up to you.
Most people don't know where that soft and succulent line comes from. Do you know?
I don't.
It comes from John Muir, the guy who created the John Muir Trail. So to give you an example, Mount Whitney, which I've climbed a gazillion times. Mount Whitney, you could get to the top of that mountain several different ways from, 2 or 3 different sides. You can come up the backside if you're on the John Muir Trail. Most people, drive up to Lone Pine and go to 8,000 feet to the portal and climb from the portal to the top. It's the highest point in the lower 48 states. It's I was getting ready to give you Mont Blanc. It's 14,508 feet or something like that, right? Okay, not a great achievement, but it's 11 miles up. When you start at the portal, you're walking for 11 miles and you're walking down for 11 miles. You're basically doing a marathon in one day, except if you train for a marathon, you probably do that in 4 or 5 hours if you're just a regular Joe. This takes, on average, if you hustle, 10, 11 hours, right? Now, people run it in half of that time. These runners can run up, these super fit people. But for the average person that's going to hike to the top and stop and eat a little lunch or whatever and get to the top, it takes about, 6 hours to get up and about 6 hours to get down, right? I've done it much faster. I've done it much slower. Why did John Muir call the trail I walk on the soft and second? Now, today people go, they walking up that trail becomes a feather in your cap. Hell, Lance Armstrong walked up that trail and wrote it. He Googled about it. He put it on his Instagram and everything else. So a great athlete like Lance Armstrong went, I did this. It was not easy, right? He went up the soft and succulent route. Every time I've done it, I don't find it particularly hard. I've gone up the soft and succulent route. That's what they were calling this back in the early 1900s. He labeled that the soft and succulent route. He made some switchbacks. And as a matter of fact, once you're above, like right at about 13,000 feet, there's what's called the 99 switchbacks, or it's 99 pretty steep switchbacks. People talk about that like Hillary Step, and it's not. You just take a pace and you go, right? It happens to be almost 100 switchbacks. People talk about those switchbacks as if that's some kind of crazy thing. And it's not. It's a hard thing. You're worn out at the end of the day. But according to the early 1900s, we looked at that as being soft and succulent because most people was taking what was called the mountaineer's route. I do not suggest anyone take that route unless you know how to be a mountaineer. You need to know how to use ropes, and mountain climbing equipment is not made for anyone else. I can actually take that route. I'm trained in mountaineering. Most people are not. And still I've not done that route, right? But that's where soft and succulent comes from. From what we think is hard nowadays, 100 years ago, it was considered soft and succulent. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes complete sense. That's amazing. Great story there. That makes me like it even more.
Yeah. So, all right, I want to go back to the easy, hard, hard, hard. Give me an example of what you said you were doing things easy, hard. What does that even mean?
Yeah, so
not mean, but give me examples. You gave me the meaning. I want the examples.
yeah, so it was putting my job, my profession, putting all my time, energy, and effort on it, and not because I wanted to, because I felt that's what I needed to do. That's what I thought success was. And then the repercussions of that were my mental health went. I mean, I was so depressed, angry all the time because, once you accomplish something, you want to accomplish what's next, what's next, what's next. And for me, that was probably the best example to me was I was chasing something that I didn't really want to do. I wasn't comfortable doing it. I didn't enjoy it necessarily, but I liked the rewards, or I thought I liked the rewards for it. And that's why, I never could celebrate any win or never enjoy where I was at the time because it all just became like, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. It gave me no joy, no feeling, no meaning, nothing. And so, in my simple brain, I just had to break it down to that was my easy hard. Does that answer your question a little bit?
A little bit, but that almost sounds like the hard, hard to me, to be honest.
Well, and
Right?
most people
You
do.
would
Yeah.
accept something and you would, because look, I'm guilty of what you just said. My motto around here is nothing is as old as my last achievement.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I've been living that my whole life, and it's not a great way to live. I'm going to be honest. But I don't know how to take a break because you got to remember, I never had a job working for anyone else other than me. Now, let me correct that. Since college, right? Before that, I worked on construction crews in the summer. I worked for, the Ascension Parish Prison, working as a guard one summer. I had jobs where I got a paycheck. It was summer jobs.
Right.
But from college on out, I've never worked for anyone. I had contracts with Newman School, but I wasn't on staff there. they hired out my company to come in and train their kids in the afternoon. I wasn't there on staff like every other teacher.
Right.
I had a law firm, McLinchy, Stafford, Lynch, Cellini and Lang, one of the biggest law firms in New Orleans. I created a gym in their law firm, and my company went in there and ran that, right? But I never got a paycheck. Like you wanted, I got paid by the lawyers of that firm to come in and work with me, right? I
Right.
contracted with them. Other than that, I've been on my own, right? So when I wake up in the morning, it's that old thing about the Serengeti. You know that
Mm.
Serengeti thing in the morning. I'll say it
Yeah.
for everyone else, but you're a leadership guy, so you know it. On the Serengeti, if you're a zebra on the Serengeti, when you wake up in the morning, you know that you have to be one step faster than the slowest zebra, or you'll be eaten. On that same Serengeti, if you're a tiger or a lion, you know that you have to be at least one step faster than the slowest zebra, or you won't eat. The bottom line is, when you wake up in the morning, you better be fucking running, right? And for better or for worse, I've been getting up every morning in my life like I'm on the Serengeti going, okay, either I'm going to eat or I'm going to be eaten. And I don't know if that's a great way to live. It might be. Maybe you can convince me otherwise here today. Does that make me easy hard or hard hard?
I think in your case, Vinny, from watching you throughout the years and reading your book and everything, I think you found your hard early. I think you're an exception to the rule. So I'm not saying at all take it easy. I'm not a Netflix and chill guy because I'm like you. I like to push the limits every single day myself too. The difference, I think, is when you're doing something you really don't want to do. And I can't be you. I can't read your mind. I don't know what you want, but I have a feeling you like doing what you do. You like climbing these mountains. You like doing these bike rides when you were doing those long distance events. So to you, your heart isn't the amount of effort you're putting into it. It's where's your heart. You were doing it for you. Now I know you did say you didn't want to get eaten, and it is a competitive world out there, and sometimes your job becomes a mandatory thing versus something you really want to do. But in your case, you've kind of found that that saying where they say find what you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
I get that feeling from you, but of course I can't read you. What I can tell from my personal experience was I was going out there every single day working 18, 20 hours, 7 days a week, and it was all for really nothing that I wanted to do. So now once I found my hard, and that's, helping other people grow. Well, let me take an example that might be better for you and your audience. So I went on this weight loss journey. In 2019, I weighed in at 354 pounds. Okay. And that was all because I let myself go. I let I thought work was more important than my health, whatever. So I started going on a weight loss journey. And I did it the David Goggins way. And I know you got opinions on that, but I just started running every single day. I just kept running, and just kept going on it, going on it. But then, like, if someone would call me and say, "Hey, let's go to dinner or let's go do something, let's go whatever," I would be more willing to forego the workout. So I wasn't committed because it's not really what I wanted to do. It's like I just didn't want to be fat anymore. I didn't want people to call me fat. I wanted to look good in my clothes. But it was the day that I realized how bad my health was. I started getting some blood work in, and I saw some markers that I didn't want them to be. That whole thing changed for me. So what was an easy hard, just going out there and doing the work, became a hard because I wanted to do it for more than just losing weight. I wanted to do it for my own spiritual, mental, physical, all that wellness. And so I don't know. It's just there are two terms that meant a lot to me. I mean, as you can tell, David Goggins, the stay hard kind of thing. It might be a play on that, but I came from the military. I served in the army, so that whole hard mentality versus soft. I never want to be soft. Before I was being soft in my body, but I was strong in my mind or hard in my mind. And then I said, well, why not have it both? And then when I found my purpose and meaning in life, then my heart was found, and that's what the concept was born out of.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that because I tend to do the hard things, right?
Yeah.
First, and I don't know. That's always been my thing. Look, I started off as an athlete. I didn't know I was an athlete. I found out I was an athlete when I was like in seventh grade. You know, a coach, I think you read my book, a coach
Hmm.
saw me beat up. Like I used to get picked on a lot because I had the worst speech impediment in the world. And kids would just pick on me. And then I just got physical, you know, and the more physical, and because I was working out at the time, which is also odd. You know, there was like an old Italian man that had a gym in his garage, and he was friend of the family, and he saw me struggling, and my dad said, "Hey, you know," my uncle said, "Hey, would you take Vinny?" And you know, so you know, I didn't realize when you're a kid, you can't see how physical you're getting, right? But I was getting physical at a young age, and when the kids started pushing me around, well, you can push another kid down or smack another kid, and then he'll go, "Oh shit, I better stop," right? But then the bully started figuring out, hey, if we come at him two and three at a time, he can't get us all, right? When I started retaliating, they came up with a different game plan. And I was always, it was kind of like, do you watch NFL at all?
Some, yes, sir.
Okay. When you watch, and you see it in college football too, one guy will antagonize the other guy, and then the second guy will push the first guy, and then the ref throws the flag on the second guy. That was my life as a kid. I think about that every time. Every time I see that on the field, I think about my childhood because I would get antagonized and pushed around by the other kids, and then I would smack back, and they would go, "Oh, there's a troublemaker. Send him home." Right? And the only reason I didn't get expelled from that school is because they loved my mom. The nuns, my mom was still like a super Catholic, right? And they were like, "Oh my God, it's Marie's son again. What's going on here?" You know, and they would just suspend me for a day or two, and then I would come back, and then the kids would antagonize me again. Until one day, literally, you know, and I'm not much of a spiritual guy, but like five of these kids came at me, and one of the coaches for the junior varsity team sees me, literally handling five kids, like throwing them around and beating the crap out of them. And when he broke up the fight, he's walking me to the office and he says, I wrote about it in the book. He goes, "You ever think about playing football?" And I was like, "No." And he goes, "You know, if you come out there, you can beat up on those kids legally." Or so, yeah, he said something to that. You know, he goes, "We'll cheer you on for doing what you just did." And I was like, "How does this work again?" And he was like, "Yeah, just come on out." And I was like, "Okay." You know, and that changed my life. Right. Yeah. And I think ever since then, it was like, do the hard things, do the hard things. It will work out. And it's always worked out for me that way. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly encourage people to do the hard things because so many people are living these soft and subtle lives, to use the term we talked about earlier, and they're scared of hard. They're scared of struggle. But then on the other end, you see a lot of, leadership and inspirational speakers talk about, you've got to suffer. Well, there's a balance there. That suffering is probably going too far. Now you can struggle. I'm a big fan of struggle, and that's what hard is. And I think every single person needs to go do something hard. My whole point from a leadership perspective is you have to do it for the right intentions. Now, when the story you gave about being a child and doing this, again, your brain wasn't formed and all that. So you were kind of reactive, right? You were protecting yourself. People were bullying you. I get it. But as we get older, how often do people choose the hard when they're getting bullied or when things aren't going their way? They choose the easy, right? It's always easy. This whole like Netflix and chill or self-care, all these words that are thrown out there, all in of themselves are probably fine, but people take them to the extreme. So I would much rather someone take it to the hard extreme. But my point is make sure it's something you want to do. Don't just do it because everyone else is doing it. That's what your neighbors want, keeping up with the Joneses, that sort of thing. It's got to be your why. Like, why do you do it? And when you find that why, I say turn the dial up, go at it even harder. Because one, it's not going to feel like work anymore. You're going to get a lot of pleasure from it. You're not going to need motivation because you're going to have inspiration, right? Motivation is an emotion. It comes and it goes. I mean, how many times do people tell you, "I'm not motivated"? I mean, you are a fitness guy, working people out. How many times did people tell you they weren't motivated? Well, who cares if you're motivated or not? Go out there and do it, because once you find your hard, your why, it's easy to go out there and do it. You know it's going to struggle. You know it may, the first, in running they always say the first mile always lies. Either it's the best mile or the worst mile, but it's either going to get better or worse. But my point is, once you find that hard, you can solely dedicate your effort, and it takes away a lot of these excuses just naturally, because you're so in love with what you're doing each and every day that work doesn't seem like work anymore. It seems like progress. And whereas the opposite of the easy hard, it seems like work, it's drudgery. People talk about procrastination and all these things all the time. I don't think procrastination is necessarily people wanting to do the work. It's the pain that they're in is less to them than the pain of getting better. But once you find that why, once you find your hard, that pain just will vanish. I'm not saying overnight, but eventually it will, I promise you.
I want to get remind me after this quick break. I want to talk about riding the tiger. It's something I've been using for the past couple of years. My friend wrote about it in his book, and and I think it applies here. But before I tell you about that, I need to tell you Jasper, JASPR, jasper.co/Vinnie will save you $300 on an air scrubber, scrubbing your air. It's scrubbing it. It's not, oh, air purifier. Oh, yeah. You know what? BS. Go get yourself a Jasper. Don't mess around. I'm going to tell you how great this company is. We were giving a $400 discount, $400 per unit on the Jasper. And that was a loss leader. So after 6 weeks, they said, we can't do that anymore. We could do 300. And I said to them, I said, hey, guys, I don't know. We were giving 400. Now we're just giving a $300 discount. No one's going to buy it. Turns out, I've seen the numbers. We're selling more. When in hell in history has that ever happened? I don't think it's ever happened. And what we're also learning is people that bought one or two are buying another one and maybe two more. I've never seen anything like this. Once people get this Jasper into their home, they want more than one. We have one guy that bought six Jaspers, jasper.co/Vinnie. By putting in /Vinnie, you'll save $300. If you forget to do it at the beginning, right there in the title, you could put it when they ask for a promo code at the end. VINNIE will save you $300 on the Jasper every single time. Let's ask Bobby, you're a fan of the show, right? Do you have a Jasper at all? Did you get one? Or?
I don't yet, but I'm planning to order one. I was just talking to the wife about it this morning, actually.
I got to be honest with you. Your life changes. I'm not kidding. I thought that this was BS. When they sent me one, the guy was on the show and he was just being a nice guy. And he sent me one about a year ago. And I put it in my office. And by the way, I didn't run it 24/7. I ran it from the time I woke up, because I do several things. I come to my office, I turn on the lights, I get the espresso machine rolling, and I would turn on the Jasper. And it would be on from, when I when I got down here in the morning, it was about 8 o'clock. And I don't leave my office until 12 or 1 in the morning because, I'll leave during the day and go do everything, go to the gym, go work out, go skating or, archery or whatever in the hell I do. But then I come back and watch television late at night, and I usually watch and now I would turn it off. But still, that was enough to keep this room. When I opened up the shell on my Concept 2 and saw what was going on, it was just ridiculous. There was no dust in there, no grime, no nothing. And it turns out my wife used to snore. She sounded like a choo-choo train. Now, every now and again, it's kind of cute now. Like I'll be laying there in bed, answering everybody's tweets. And all of a sudden I'll hear. And then that's it. It's like, oh, she almost started, but I'm telling you, she used to rattle the ceilings. And now I know what you guys are thinking. That cute little Bond girl was, yes, she used to rattle the ceiling. Not anymore. Jasper.co. Go check it out right now. Jasper.co/Vinnie. We are talking to Bobby Shelton. Bobby, a friend of mine wrote a book, and I was reading his book. And in there he goes, because he was having some of the same business problems I was having with my company because I took my eye off the ball. So I don't blame it on anyone else except me, right? It's easy for me to go blame who was running the company and all that. I took my eye off the ball, right? And my buddy, he owned a big kayak company, and they made kayaks in China. And he was getting screwed left, right, and center, right? One of the biggest kayak companies in the world, world-class kayaks, right? It's not the name of the company. But in his book, he goes, I knew there was a problem with my partners and what was going on in China. But he goes, I felt like I was riding the tiger. And what he meant by that is a tiger is a very dangerous animal. It's a carnivorous animal. It will eat a human being in a heartbeat, right? But as long as you're on a tiger's back, you're okay. But he knew he had to get off of the tiger at some point and face it, right? He knew he had to stop riding the tiger and face the music. And when he did, by the way, folks, I'm talking about, I should mention Oscar Chalupsky. He's owned a couple of different kayak companies. Epic, I think, was the one, and now he owns Nilo. At any rate, he had to face what was going on. And Oscar has been that type of guy that's had to face things his entire life, right? He should have been dead from cancer 10 times. Nobody knows how Oscar is still alive. And when I don't talk to him, at least I go to his Instagram, and he's still getting in a damn kayak and going out and doing the Malachi and all these incredible races. And he's my age. And half the time, he's got brain tumors and everything else. I'm looking at it going, oh, this guy won't quit. We should all have a little Oscar Chalupsky on us. What say you about? And by the way, this same type of guy as the guy you follow. What's his name? Stay Hard guy.
David Goggins.
Goggins. Yeah, Goggins. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, all of us have to face our tiger. I've never heard that, never read that book. I will, though. It sounds like an interesting one. We all have to face our tiger. The question is your tiger your fear of doing something, or is your tiger, a situation that you're in, right? And it sounds like for him, it was a situation he was in with a production company or, manufacturer or whatever. Um, but yeah, I do think every single person has to face their tiger, but they need to do it for the right reasons. All these books out there, all these motivational speakers will tell people they need to go do more. But if you're doing more of the wrong thing, is it really going to help you? Is it going to bring you the peace, the joy? I don't know this guy that you're referring to, but I can only imagine he loves going out there and doing it. It's similar to David Goggins, similar to you, similar to me on a very, very minor scale compared to all three of you giants in the field you're in. But there comes a point where, when you find what you want to do, it's rewarding. The effort, the pain of the effort outweighs the pain of where you were. And most people get so scared, and because I mean, look, you turn on the TV, you turn on Instagram, anything you turn on, it's always telling you reasons not to do something. Why you should be happy with where you are now. Well, maybe you do have to face the tiger, and maybe that tiger is you. So look deep inside and understand, what do I want to be doing? Am I where I want to be? And if the answer is no, know that you have the power to change it. And a simple terminology of easy hard versus hard doesn't work for you. Find what does, but go out there and do it. Nike used to say, just do it. What a great
Right.
slogan. I'm not endorsing the company or anything like that, but what a great slogan. If you just go out there and do it, if you take a little bit of action, your world's going to change.
By the way, Oscar's book, Oscar Chalupsky, the book is called No Retreat, No Surrender. It just came to my brain. It's a great book. You really want to read that, Bobby. It seems a bit braggadocious at the beginning, but the guy has done so much, right? It's like, this guy's just bragging about himself. And it's like, no. Keep reading the book, because there are things in there where you're going to go, oh my God, this guy's always been behind the 8 ball and figured out a way to win. And again, he's no different than me. Never really had a job. He's always worked for Oscar, right? And I respect that on so many levels, right? And even going through cancer, like he's been out of money, people come around and just go, hey, we're going to help you out here, because he's helped so many people in his life and has changed so many lives, right? So it really matters. And, going back to and I've talked about it ad nauseum on this podcast, you know, building the kayak, right? I built a cedar strip kayak, and people go, "Oh, come on, Vin, we're so sick and tired of that story." And to be honest, I'm sick and tired of telling it. But every time I see a movie with some guy, romantically rubbing a piece of wood, building a kayak, ironing it, just eyeing it up and it's getting it straight and the whole thing, it's like, you look at that and, most people romanticize like one day I'm going to do that. But that day never comes unless you go out and buy yourself a piece of fucking wood, right? And lucky for me, I had Joey Schott living, right down in Richmond. You live in our neighborhood, so you know what I'm talking about. And so a couple of friends of mine, my family and everyone's like, how far do you travel to go work on this kayak every Saturday? It's like 95 minutes in each direction. It's like, so you're on the road for over 3 hours every Saturday? Yes. But I'm taking a piece of wood and I'm taking one of the foremost authorities on what to do with that wood, and we're molding something together. And I forged a friendship with this guy. He's a wonderful human being. And I was able to see something come together and go, holy shit. And everybody's going to go, who gives a fuck, Vinny? You built a kayak. Great. It floats. Good. Go ride around your kayak. That's not what it's all about.
Right.
We all talk about that one thing we're going to do in life, right? And we never do it. And it doesn't matter what it is. Cycling was that. I read about Pete Penseers in 1985 or 86. He had just won the race across America. And I was like, wait, someone can ride a bike across America without sleeping on it? Like he was sleeping 1 and 2 hours a night for 8 nights, and he set a record. I literally told myself, I will become a millionaire, and then I'll have enough money, because I used to think having $1 million was like Thurston Howell III. I don't know if there was a show called Gilligan's Island. Thirsty had $1 million. And then later in the show, they said he had $2 million. So I went, okay, if I have $1 million, it was almost like, what was that thing? $1 million, that movie. What was it? Spy Who Shagged Me over there. Oh, was that it? Yeah. I thought $1 million, I'll be a millionaire. I can stop working. I can go train on a bike. And then one day I can beat Pete Penseers, or at least see what it feels like to ride a bike across the country. And then I woke up one day and I went, wait a minute. You're a goddamn PE teacher for a living. You're never going to be a millionaire. So if you want to go ride that bike, you need to get on that bike and start training, right? That's what I do. Does that make me easy hard or hard hard? Where does that put me, Bobby?
I mean, Vinny, I think you're hard through and through. I think when you did it initially, that you just wanted to do it to see what it was like, or to beat Pete or whatever. Maybe that was easy hard, but it became hard because what you did is you made that transition to, I needed to go do it. And even the story of your kayak, and we talked about at the introduction of the show. I mean, you've written a book. How many people do you come to you to say, Vinny, I've been thinking about writing a book my whole life, or I want to write a book. I want to just go out there and do it. Like, nothing makes me sadder than if someone finds your accomplishment and then they try to, I don't know, self-affirm, or think, I don't know if they think that you're better than them or what, but then they tell you what they haven't done. Like, I'm not interested in what anyone hasn't done. I'm interested in what they have done. So whether it's building a kayak, bike across America, losing weight, building a business, I don't care what it is. But what I find from a leadership perspective is so many people are scared. They're scared of failure, I think, most likely. And I was too for a lot of years, right? I'm a business owner. It's scary, right? It's scary to get out there and do it. But you got to go out there and do it. You got to try, because telling someone what you haven't done, that's definitely easy hard. And so I don't know if that answers your question on that one or not, but it's all about going out there and doing it. And like you did it, and I will never tell someone, oh, one day I'm going to do this. I'm just either going to go out and do it or not tell anybody about it. Like I keep those inside of me because there are a few things I want to do. And hopefully, I'm only 47 now. I'll have the chance to do them, but I'm not going to vocalize them until I go out there and do them. And I might
Yeah.
tell you about it or whatever for encouragement why I'm starting it, but not before I started it.
No, look, it's a real thing. And my wife has even said it to me. She used to say I was like Peter Griffin because, sometimes Peter Griffin, you know, his wife walks out on the front lawn. He's in a spaceship. He goes, Peter, what are you doing in the spaceship? He's like, I wanted a spaceship. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I'll come home, Serena will come home. And one day she came home and I was strapping up a pair of rollerblades on my feet. And the brand new box was right next to her. She goes, when did you decide to do that? I went, the other day. She goes, and now you have rollerblades? I went, yeah. And she goes, I said, Serena, I used to rollerblade back in Santa Monica, 30 years ago. I rollerbladed almost daily. As a matter of fact, I used to take my clients out sometimes, and I would call it power blading. And I said, you know why I called it power blading? And she goes, no. I said, because I couldn't charge $200 by calling it rollerblading. I had to change the name, and I just had to be one step faster than them. And I said, we're going to go power blading. And they would kick their ass, and they would feel good, and they would go, oh, my God, it was great. You need to go power blading with Vinnie down the beach. It became a thing, right? That's how much rollerblading. And she was like, well, so you just decide? I went, yeah. Just like when I decided to start archery, I went out and bought a bow, some arrows, and a backstop and started shooting arrows, right? And you'll go, well, Vinny, none of that puts money in your pocket. But the fact of the matter is, all of it puts money in my pocket, right? Because by keeping myself nimble and doing different things, when I'm out there doing archery or skeet shooting or rollerblading or kayaking or rowing, which I'm doing now in the water, whenever I'm doing any of that, it's recreation that opens my mind up to go, oh, maybe I should come up with this product for my vitamin company, or I bet this would be a better flavor coffee if I just do A, B, C, and D. And then when I come back home and sit down to work with these new thoughts in my brain, right, then I'm a better person. But if I just sat here, and come on, Vinny, come up with an idea for a new coffee, it ain't going to happen. But if I'm out there, and I know this sounds like bullshit, man, please, folks, put your bullshit meters away because they're about to spike all the way to the right. I'm out there on the water rowing and everything is quiet. I'm there with my thoughts. Things come into your brain. It used to happen to me a lot with cycling too.
Mm-hmm.
The late great Bill Walton told me one time, because he was into ultra cyclists, and so that's how I knew Bill Walton. We weren't friends, by the way, folks. So I'm not suggesting I was friends, but he knew me through that. And he said to me one time, he goes, you ever have these long conversations with yourself when you're out there cycling? And I said, Mr. Walton, all the time. And he goes, yeah, sometimes I come in the house after cycling for 5 hours and I'll start telling my wife, oh, honey, I got to do this. I got to do that. And then, and she will slow him down and say, Bill, I wasn't present for the first 5 hours of that conversation. You got to go back a little bit and tell me what you're thinking about. But when you do things like that, when you go for a long walk, you don't have to go kayaking or rowing or cycling. You could go for a long walk. Either bring something, like some people like to talk into their phone and do notes, or do what I do, just carry a little piece of paper and jot it down, because I don't want to pull a phone out. I can't see really well, but I could jot without looking, right?
Yeah.
New coffee idea. Boom. It's in my pocket, right? Thoughts?
Well, I got two thoughts on what you said. The first about the rollerblades, that you thought about it and you went and did it. And there is science that shows the more we think about something without doing it, our brain begins to protect us. Because like, if you said, "Oh, Vinny, I'm going to start rollerblading, and then I'm going to start on Monday," and then Monday came, you didn't do it. Well, it's going to be harder for you to do it on Tuesday. So one of the things about leadership, I tell people, don't think, just go do. So I limit myself to 30 minutes of thinking a day. And I know that sounds kind of crazy because I write, I do podcasts, I do a lot of things. Well, I think about what I'm going to do, but if I go more than 30 minutes, then self-doubt, self-fear, anxiety all creeps in. So I don't do it. So I've been starting this new thing. It's called daily pages. Have you ever heard of this? You wake up and the
No.
first thing you do, you just write 3 pages of whatever stream of consciousness. So you just write. And you don't do more than 3 pages. You don't do less. You just grind it out. Well, what I found in the short time I've been doing that is that clears the mechanism. And that's another thing you were talking about when you go on these long runs and bike rides, whatever activity you do. You're taking. I like to use the analogy that if we were at a play right now, not that you and I would go to a play together, but if we
You
were
don't
in,
know that.
and there were 100 actors on the stage, you wouldn't know which person to look at, what was the plot, what was the the backup, whatever. Okay, but let's say you get up to go to the bathroom and you come back and there's only 2 or 3 actors on the stage. It's much easier to go look at them. And I don't know why this is, and I've talked to a lot of experts, and no one's given me a definitive answer yet. But something about moving or doing something different than just sitting here thinking clears that stage for your mind, and it does bring you the best ideas. I know when I was writing my when I was doing my doctoral studies, nothing was harder than to sit at a desk and write 20 to 30 pages a week. Oftentimes you have to read all these resources and you're just cramming information in your brain. Well, you know what? Sometimes I'd go out for a run in the middle of the day, and then I'd come back from that run and I wouldn't even pass go, take a shower, anything. I'd sit down and it would just flow like water. Because I think when you take yourself out of a situation and you take yourself out of those thoughts, then it opens up your mind, and then that's where those creep in. And it's interesting that you've had that experience, and every single person I've talked to has had that experience. But then why in this culture do we just chain ourselves to a chair all day long? Get
Because,
up and
well,
move.
hang on. I want to take a quick break here, and I want to start with chaining ourselves. That's a good place to take a break here. We'll be right back. Villa Capelli. Yeah, Villa Capelli is the longest running sponsor on this show. They've been with me from almost the beginning. Here's the crazy thing. I talked about this product for, I don't know, maybe a year, 18 months before they became a sponsor. And they couldn't understand it's a small olive oil company out of Italy, out of Puglia. They couldn't understand why they were selling out in the United States. It's because all of our fans heard us talking about it, Anna Vocino and myself, and they went out and started buying it. And then Paul Capelli called and said, "Hey, please keep talking about us, and we will pay you guys. Go get Villa Capelli right now. Put in promo code Vinnie, Vinnie, and you'll save 10% every single time. 10%. Promo code Vinnie, Vinnie, no wimpy Y. Go get Villa Capelli. This is 100% pure olive oil from Puglia. Get it while it's in stock, because when they run out of olives in those trees, they stop making it. This isn't the crap that you buy in the grocery store where they just add 40% seed oil and they sell it all year long. You got to get this stuff while it lasts. Villa Capelli, let them know we sent you. Promo code Vinnie. We're talking to Bobby Shelton, who has the podcast, the Self Leadership Lab, and also Easy Hard versus Hard Hard, the book. The worst title ever, but I can't wait to read that book. Bobby, we were talking about, where you get your divine intervention pretty much. And, my good friend, writing partner in the book, on my book, Fitness Confidential, Dean Laurie, is one of Hollywood's funniest comedic writers. He's, major shows, right? He's run major shows. He's written movies. Major Pain was one of his movies. I think he also directed that one. Arrested Development. He's one of the main guys on that, right? Just critically acclaimed. And I could go on and on with Dean's resume. But Dean would always tell me that his divine intervention would hit him in the shower, right? He would have to get out. He had paper and pen right outside the shower. He would have to get out and dry off and write down notes and then get back in the shower so he wouldn't forget. So that kind of thing, once you let your mind relax for just a minute, it could be a shower. It could be a sauna. It could be a walk, right? It could be anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and everyone's got to find their own. In science, we always talk about N of ones, and truly every single person's different. You may have the same interests, you may have some similarities, but you got to find what works for you. So that's true in leadership, that's true in everything. find your rhythm. And so many people are scared of finding their rhythm. And I mean, you've had the fortune of never having to work in a corporate job or whatever. But like I said, everything is like 9 to 5, and you're stuck there. But maybe your best work is between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. for some people, and they can get more done in those 3 hours. I mean, I'm a morning person. And from listening to you earlier, you're not, but I get up at like 4:30 every single day, and those first 2 or 3 hours of the day, I get more done in that time frame than I do the rest of the day because there's no phone calls, there's no interruptions, there's no anything, right? And I used to work out like during that time, but then I found out as I went, well, that's where my brain functions the best. I don't know if it's because I come off of sleep, whatever, but everyone needs to find their own. And that's one other thing I'd say about leadership and finding your heart. Don't buy into anyone else's dogma, because there's very few things that are like super dogma for everyone. Even if you read a study or go read all these things, well, there's percentages, right? They'll say 75% of people responded X to this, whatever. Well, what about the other 25%? And then where is it? Everything's on a bell curve. So for one person, it didn't work at all. You can guarantee that. And then for so many people, it worked 100% or whatever. But the thing is, you got to find it. But in order to find what works for you, you've got to go out there and do it. So all coaches, all leadership people will go tell you about action, action, action. But really, Vinny, that is the key to anything that you do in life. You just got to go out there and do it. And even in this thinking example that we're talking about, you know, find out if you get stuck, change your state. Go take a walk. Go do. You know what I like to do? I do this dumb thing. I get up off my desk like when I'm on long conference calls or whatever. I do like 10 body squats, these kind of like jumping jacks that aren't jumping jacks. I just move my arms over my head, kind of battle ropes. And just doing that, like, a couple sets of 10 to 20, 30 each, will just change my whole state, right? I just come back to the meeting refreshed. Of course I'll turn the camera off because I don't want to see a goofy guy back here doing body weight squats
Right.
or whatever.
All right.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it's so amazing, these little tips, but most people won't do them, and it doesn't take much. 10 body squats. How long does that take? 10 seconds, 20 seconds?
Yeah. 20 seconds at the most.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've famously talked about, like I'll get up from my desk. Right next to my desk, I have a jump rope. It's on the other side of this rack that you're looking at. It's right there. It's right here. And I have one in my bag when I go to the gym, and there's jump ropes everywhere. 5 minutes, you get up and jump, even if it's 1 minute.
Yeah.
It does something to your body. Your whole body gets stimulated. It's a crazy thing. And, it's not that I'm not a morning person. It's just that my whole life I had to get up at 4:15. Now I've shifted that, right? I don't have to get up at 4. And when I first started doing this podcast, and I was still training people back in 2011 or whatever, 2010, I can't remember when we started, but I used to, I canceled my early morning clients because I was in California, and people would be on the East Coast and go, hey, I would do a podcast like at 6 a.m, right? Because on the East Coast, it was already 9, right? And I can, and if you were Tim Noakes and you were in South Africa, that's even so much better. And if you're, Gary Fetke down in Tasmania, that you're a half a day, it's the next day. I could do these guys at 6 a.m, right? So I did that for a long time until I moved to the East Coast, and I went, wait a minute, this ain't working anymore. So I just shifted my whole day. It's like, I'm going to play in the morning, because I always kind of followed what, Jefferson said, leave the afternoons open for recreation and play. Thomas Jefferson, he says, reading is important, but your health and exercise is even more important. Exercise and recreate. And I thought about that, and I was like, well, I can't do the afternoon because I need to work in the afternoon, in the evening. Turns out I prefer this. You're the first of 2 podcasts I'm doing tonight, right? I'm doing another one at 7. By the time I put these together and send them off to Debbie and Leona, it'll be 10 o'clock tonight, my time, right? But I don't mind. I like doing it that way because I went to the gym. I'm going to brag, today was leg day, right? I would have loved to have gone skating, but there's still ice where I skate. And I don't have ice skates, and they wouldn't work on that kind of ice anyway. And I went the other day. I went and looked at the the river where I kayak, and it's frozen over, right?
Mm,
So that's a problem. The Rivanna River, it's just frozen solid.
yeah.
Right. So, I can't do any of that right now. Right. So I'm in the gym. And yesterday I went rowing on my indoor rowing machine for an hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes or whatever. You do what you have to do. You just do recreation. Right. I don't know
Yeah.
why I got into that, but
I
you
love
know,
it. Yeah, because so many people do nothing and they'll make excuses like, "Oh, there's 8 inches of ice on the ground right here too." For me, and people say I can't do anything. Well, you can always do, push-ups, sit-ups, whatever. I mean, you can do some kind of movement in your house. I'm fortunate I have a full gym in my basement, so I just walk out of this room that I'm in here now, and boom, there's a gym there. So it's very easy for me to just go out there and do something. I wish I could do those jump ropes like you said, but I have one of these houses that was built in 1953. I'm 6'5", so a jump. Yeah, have you tried those jump ropes that are weighted? I can't think of the
yeah.
name of the company, but yeah, I've got a set of those, and sometimes I'll go in and do those. But you kind of feel goofy after a little bit of doing that. But
Oh, you mean
just
it's just a weight, but there's no rope going underneath you. You just
yeah,
skip it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah.
just
I've done those. They're kind of cool. I like
Yeah,
them.
yeah, they're really great to pack in your, I know we're way off topic here, but like a TRX, when I travel, throw that in the bag, throw those jump ropes in
Yeah,
the bag, because you can never rely on a gym at a hotel. You never know what you're gonna get or not get most of the time, right? It's cardio equipment everywhere,
yeah.
for weights or whatever. But anyways, that whole point about putting that movement into your day, I know a lot of people are so hesitant of it. They say they don't have time. Well, don't scroll your social media. Don't watch your TV show. Get that movement in and then just observe what happens. That's my whole leadership philosophy is whatever you try, observe it. Do it for a few days, a few weeks, because a lot of times it takes time to catch it, to set in, but really observe where your changes are. Does it change your state? Does it change your performance? And I think I've never heard one person that stuck to any kind of movement routine that told me they felt worse. Have you?
No, no,
Yeah,
absolutely not. But do you ever do things like, I want to change it a little bit from the exercise, but
sure.
it's along the same line. I'm a big fan of Norman Vincent, not well, Norman Vincent Peale, but Napoleon Hill is the one I wanted to mention. And
Yeah,
some people would say, "Oh, Napoleon Hill was a huckster, right?" And this and I was like, "Yeah, he might have been, but he wrote a good book, and he had these principles, right?" And I followed his principles. And a guy like me, a half dimwit from the bayou, somehow did pretty good in his life, right? So, and people go, "Geez, how did you figure all that out?" I was like, Norman Vincent Peale. And one of his first laws is whatever your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve, right? How do you feel about that statement? I'm going to tell you why. Are you into that, or where do you stand on that kind of malarkey?
I don't think it's malarkey at all. I think to do another quote, Henry Ford is famous for saying, "Whether you say you can or you can't, you're right."
You're
So
correct. Yeah.
if you believe something, then you know what you may not reach the ideal that you had. Like if I said today I want to be as good a basketball player as LeBron James, well, I'm 47, probably not. But you know what? I could become a better basketball player than I am today. So yeah, believing in yourself and then what goes along with that in the whole realm of self leadership is positive self talk, self imagery, right? If you can imagine yourself in this state, a lot of coaches will tell you, imagine your best day. What would it be like? What would it feel like? Right? You see athletes all the time before they take the field. They got the headphones on. They got their eyes closed, whatever. Well, they're not just zoning out. They're visualizing the game. They're visualizing how they want their body to feel, how they want their body to move, all that stuff. So I'm a firm believer in, if you think it, it's going to make it a lot easier to get there.
But there is a way that, all right, so let's say, we can look at LeBron James as being one of the best basketball players of all time. He's definitely up there with people like Larry Bird and Michael Jordan, arguably. Now, physically, you're not going to be able to beat him, right? This
Right.
guy has physical attributes. But if you take a competition where you can level the playing field, right? Free throws. It's from 15 feet away from the goal. It doesn't take any physicality other than concentration and learning how, because some of the greatest free throw shooters in the world never played basketball.
Right.
They just got, it's like some nerdy guy who just stood 15 feet away from a goal and learned how to just hit hundreds in a row, right? And that all has to do with keeping your mind involved in what you're doing and never changing anything, the mechanics, everything. If you said to yourself, okay, what does LeBron hit from the line, right? From the free throw line. Okay, he's 84%. Okay, I'm 70%. How do I get to 85%? Right? How do I get to be? And then at something you can be better than LeBron James. See, that's the part people miss. They go, well, you said I could do anything I want, and I want to be better than LeBron James, so I'm going to do that. LeBron James. It's like, no, you got to look at what you can compete with LeBron James on. And right? You see where I'm getting at?
Yeah.
It's like,
Set
hey,
your
you can beat him with
expectations. Make them realistic. There's a thing called SMART goals, and the R is realistic. Make it a realistic goal, because again, if you just say I want to be like LeBron James and you go out and you fail within a month, a year, however long you commit to it, you're going to probably stop doing it. And what I find most people, when they stop doing it, they stop doing everything. So I like what you say. I've never thought of it that way. Like, hey, be a little bit better. Or how about if you just say, I want to be 1% better than I am today at X by the end of the month, or in 2 months, or whatever it is. Those little small incremental changes, one, you don't stop believing in yourself, because belief in yourself, let's face it, no one else is going to believe in you. Like,
Right.
every single person, the world is designed today to tell you you can't, right? If you tell someone, oh, Vinny, I'm going to get in shape, I'm going to start running. Well, not you, but other people will be like, Bobby, you're going to blow your knees out. You're going to regret that when you're 75. Well, I don't know if I regret it or not, but I'm going to go do it, right? So don't let the world stand in your way. If you believe you can do something, you can do it.
No, 1,000% correct. And then I'll take things to a crazy level, right? And this is where we're going to lose the audience, but I'll do it anyway. This is where my wife goes, oh my God, I forgot you really are a nerd, right? Because she'll open my computer and it'll be like on videos, like most guys say, oh my God, my wife caught me with porn on my, you'll never catch me with porn because I don't watch porn, right? So you'll never catch, but what you will catch me with is looking up perpetual motion machines, right? Because, to cause perpetual motion, I've been saying this my whole life. If we can actually figure out perpetual motion, then OPEC nations can just go away, because we don't need to extract energy from the earth anymore. We could just use perpetual motion, right? And then my wife would go, you've already lost me. It's like, think about it. You're creating more energy than you're putting out, which breaks Newton's first law. Do you know what I'm talking about here, Bobby?
Yeah.
Because some people, yeah. So, when you think about perpetual motion, you got to break the first two laws, Newton's first two laws. The first one is the law of conservation and energy, right? So energy can't, be created or expended, right? It just is. So we can't create energy out of just anything. The energy, that's why people are, dude, when you lose weight, the laws of thermodynamics, that dictates that you can't create or expend energy. It just is, right? So in order to say that perpetual motion can happen, you have to break Newton's first law. No one's ever been able to do that. Right. And then there's Newton's second law, which is it entropy? Yeah, is entropy. So basically, entropy is the law of heat or friction, right? So even if let's say you could figure out something to spin over and over and over again, well, no matter how good your bearings are and everything else, there's friction there, and there's a little something called gravity that we also have to contend with. So whatever you have spinning freely can't be free, because there's some friction somewhere and some heat generating, and therefore it's going to slow down and stop, right? So my wife is like, it can't happen. It's like, that's right. But it doesn't stop me from looking at everything everyone's trying to create to make it happen, right?
Yeah.
But it'll never happen. And by the way, if someone does figure it out, someone from OPEC nation is going to conk them over the head and go, no. got to go away. We got to keep making this money. The world would shut down. The economies would shut down, right? But it can't happen. But it doesn't stop me from going, well, if you can conceive it and believe it. But first, the biggest problem there with perpetual motion is conceive. You need to have a concept that would work. And since we have gravity and friction, entropy will never happen. I just got way deep. I'm sorry.
No,
Take this away from me.
I like it because when you gotta think about the impossible, right? You said Thomas Jefferson earlier. What would Thomas Jefferson think of today if he saw these jets that are in the air, or George Washington, or any of these people? Like, if people just stop thinking about what's possible and believing in themselves, like, we would have never progressed. Like, not all technology helps mankind, but at the end of the day, man, we've done so much. So why stop now? Always think about what's possible. And I don't go down rabbit holes like that, but I'm sure my wife is mortified by a lot of the things that I think about and read up on every day as well. So we're a lot the same there.
I'm sorry, I cut my mic off there. Um, let's see, Leonardo da Vinci was around in the 1400s, like 1450, right? Somewhere like that. All right. So I'm guessing. I'll look up his birthday in a minute. I got to look it up now. It's got to be around 1450 or whatever. Hang on. Leonardo da Vinci, born April 15th, 1452.
Wow, that's
Okay.
pretty good.
I wasn't, I said 1450, right? I was 2 years off. All right. Sorry, Leonard. Got your birthday wrong. Um, when he drew the sketch of La Biciclette, the bicycle, they went, well, what do you mean 2 wheels? You can't. It's going to fall over. You can't propel 2 wheels forward, and it won't stay up, right? And he was like, yes, it will. And they were like, no, it won't. And he said, yes, it will. And they said, well, how can you say that? And he goes, because of the gyroscopic effect of the wheel, right? That's what does that. And everyone went, you're crazy. That's not going to work. Guess what? We've been riding bicycles and motorcycles and 2-wheel things for a long time, right? And the thing that keeps them upright and keeps them going steady unless acted on by an equal or opposite motion is if you twist the front wheel or something like that. And when you think about it, when you steer the thing, you don't really turn the wheel, you lean it. And the gyroscopic effect allows you to go around a turn. There were times when in the world they thought he was crazy. We thought Columbus was nuts because he said, you know what? I don't think this place is flat. And he finally got a queen of Spain, I guess, to go, you know what? I'm sick and tired of you. Here's some boats. Go check it out. Just go see what you can figure out. Right. But that's what we are. I mean, we're not those people anymore, but what can we figure out?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and we need to encourage people who are thinking like that too, right? They're not harming anyone. Just encourage them. I hate the world that we're in, where everyone's discouraging everyone from doing anything. And it's, from a leadership perspective, it's the worst. If you're a leader of an organization and someone has a good idea, within reason, obviously it's time, money, and resources. But at the end of the day, let them go. See what's possible. We got to expand that boundaries. So I mean, this from when you were biking, and the human body and the human mind is so much more capable than we allow it, right? We put all these parameters on ourselves. Why do we do that? We need to open ourselves up and allow for possibilities, because who knows? Maybe one day there will be a perpetual motion machine. I don't know. Probably not, because like I said, the laws are against it. But at the same time, why stop trying, or why prevent someone from stop trying, right? And that's belief in them, belief in yourself. It all plays in the way we lead, both ourselves and others.
Bobby, you're a lot younger than me, but when I was a kid, there was you would always hear these stories that they would show up on the news or in the newspaper or something about once a year, once every couple of years. 98-pound woman lift the car off of her baby, right? And like these incredible feats of strength that people would do. And when they would ask scientists how, and they would go, because the human mind is way stronger than we think. She didn't think about the car weighing 2 tons, right? All she had to do was move it enough to save something that meant more to her than her own life.
Hmm.
right? And you never hear about these people getting injured from it or anything else. They just do what has to be done at that time. Just a year or two ago, I thought about that when there was this Mexican fisherman that was missing. So they just wrote him off as dead. And then, like a year later, he shows up on an island somewhere, like on a raft, like you would see in a movie, right? With Tom Hanks in it. And they're like, wait a minute, what happened? He goes, boat lost power and I just kept drifting out to sea. And there was a storm. And, well, how did you eat? Uh, Whenever, I started figuring out, but whenever fish would like fly and fall into the boat, or and he caught rainwater and he did this and he did that. He used condensation to keep drinking water. And the man survived for way longer than they thought any human could ever survive. Right. And you look at that and you go, this was like the 98-pound mom who got the car off of the kid. Right. You don't think about it. You just go, this is where we are now. This is what I have to do to survive. Right.
Hmm. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Like I said, the mind, we limit ourselves so much, whether it's fear, anxiety, or just listening to others. And that's what the hard heart is stop limiting yourself. Because if you listen to others or you try to improve or meet the status quo, you're always going to come up short. Because I don't know why, we always talk about empowerment and building people up and all this stuff, but I don't really observe that in the community, in the outside. I mean, my community, my internal group of friends or whatever, we all build each other up, but outside of that, it's like, so build yourself up. And that's what finding the hard hard really is, find ways that get you going, get you inspired, get you out the door every single day, whatever it is. Maybe it's crocheting, or maybe it's running a marathon, or running to the end of the block. I don't know what it is for you, but that's where the real power is. If you find your why and you let your mind do what it needs to do, and you surround yourself. That's another thing we didn't really talk about, but surround yourself with people that encourage you. If someone's always telling you no, why would you want them in your lives? Tell yourself yes.
That's a great note to end on, Bobby. Folks, go check out everything Bobby Shelton is doing. His book is called Easy Hard versus Hard Heart. Where can they find that, Bobby?
It's on Amazon. So yeah, we just go to Amazon. Easy Hard versus Hard Heart, as you said, terrible name. So it's the only one out there. So go get it.
Yeah. And by the way, when you go to Amazon, go to VinnieTortorich.com first. It puts a little coal on the fire, gets my train down the track. Also, Bobby has a podcast, The Self Leadership Lab. I will be giving that a listen tomorrow to see what he's up to. And I think I'm an upcoming guest on his show. So if you guys want to hear me yap even more, you can go check me out on Bobby's show coming up shortly at some point whenever he gets around to recording that. I think we did it all. I told people about Jasper.
Yes,
That
sir.
commitment. I told everyone about Villa Capelli olive oil. That commitment's done. Oh, the workouts. VinnieTortorich.com/workout. Go right now. Bobby, do you have the workouts? You're in the VIP group, right?
I ordered the workouts, but yeah, I'm not in the VIP group that I'm aware of. But no, I do have the workouts. I haven't done them yet, but I've got them.
Yeah, folks, go check it out because you not only get me showing you how to do every exercise in a video, you also have me in your pocket. We created a thing where you can track each exercise as you go. It's right there in your phone. You don't have to bring paper and pencil in the gym anymore like you used to. We made a tracker for you. That's all part of it. All for the low price of $49. You get the workout. Or if you buy all three, it's $99. Boom. There's a 2-day routine, a 4-day routine, a 6-day routine, and you can switch back and forth between all of them. You might want to use one. Your wife might want a different, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, what have you. You have them all. Go check out VinnieTortorich.com/workout for that. Bobby got me thinking about a song. Bobby, don't hang up. I want to say goodbye to you off the air and all that good stuff. Bobby got me thinking about a song, and we're going to go out on this song right now. So on behalf of Bobby Shelton, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and do it with Journey.